It's summertime now, and it's been really hot in a lot of places around the country and a lot of parts of the world in the northern hemisphere. Here in Northern California, I live in San Francisco, we went through a crazy heat wave last week where it was like the hottest it's ever been this time of the year, ever, like in the last 150 years of checking the records. So most houses here don't have air conditioning. Probably like 99% of the homes in San Francisco don't have any kind of air conditioning. It might even be a higher percentage than that. So we suffered for a few days, and that kind of got me thinking about, you know, how weather can affect a lot of people that keep fish, whether it be the temperatures of their tank, whether it be power outages. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what to do in the event of something happening with your fish. Hey fish friends, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Hope everyone's having a great day. So like I said, you know, we had a crazy heat wave. It's much cooler now. The funny thing is it was 97 degrees in San Francisco. If you've been to San Francisco, you know how cold it is here most of the year. It was 97 degrees 2 days ago, and today it's like 62 degrees. It's like cold outside. You need a sweatshirt. Anyway, I got to thinking about, you know, what happens when there's a power outage. Now, I've made videos before about this. I will share a link up here maybe, or I'll put it at the end of this video, talking about like what to do in the event of a power outage. But what I want to talk about really briefly here is about what is the most important thing if there is a power outage, or if the temperature gets really hot in your home, and how to combat that. Now, I have made videos about how to lower the temperature in your home, whether using a fan or a chiller or frozen water bottles, and I'll put a link of that up here as well, since that's an old video, kind of hard to find, from a long time ago, back when I was like super terrible at YouTube. Now I'm only slightly terrible. But anyway, one of the most important things is breathing. So I have been an athlete a lot of my life, and I've also suffered from asthma for a lot of my life as well. So I always keep a rescue inhaler with me, and I'll use it like before a sporting event, like back in the day. And now I use it before, like, you know, when I'm doing some heavy weightlifting, when I'm not feeling like I have all of the lung capacity that I need. That can also happen with our fish. So we don't really think about fish breathing. One of the reasons why we don't really think about fish breathing is because they breathe underwater. They get all of their oxygen from the dissolved oxygen in the water. And I've made videos about that as well, and I'll put a link of that up here as well. But anyway, so they get all their water, their air, oxygen from the dissolved oxygen in the water. So we don't really think about how they're getting air. But the way that fish get air is by a gas exchange, and that happens when there's any kind of surface agitation. The easiest way to get that is with an air stone. Not only does that surface agitation add oxygen in the water through the gas exchange, but there have actually been some studies that show that having an air stone and having those bubbles in your tank will make a significant difference in the number of dissolved oxygen levels in your tank. Recently, when I went to Seattle and I went to the Aquatic Gardeners Association, I stopped by a booth and I was looking at a product that is provided by Cobalt Aquatics. Essentially what it is, it's a rescue air pump. It's an air pump that will power an air stone or a sponge filter in your aquarium, but it also is battery operated. So they actually sent one out to me along with a bunch of food for free. So thank you to Cobalt Aquatics. It's been helping to feed all of my fish in my fish room. But they did send me a rescue air pump. And what it is, it's an air pump that's just like any other air pump. You plug it into the wall and you can power an air stone or power a sponge filter. What is unique about this one is that when the power goes out and there's a power outage or for whatever reason, it will continue to run. And depending on the settings, it can run for like 24 hours up to like 72 hours. And so it is very nice to have that in the tank. So if there was a power outage on this planted tank, I will know that this air stone that I have in there will continue to blow bubbles for 24 hours up to 72 hours, depending on how I have it set up. Now, they also have in the kit kind of a little battery that you can plug in. It's like a little USB battery that you can charge. And kind of like when you have like a cell phone and you charge your phone from a battery that you plug into your charger. It's basically the same thing, but it comes with the kit. So they also sent that as well. So big thank you to Cobalt Aquatics. So that's what I have on here. I have a battery backup pump. So the pump is always running. If the power goes out, they will continue to get oxygen because those bubbles are going to be breaking the surface tension, having that gas exchange, and then also adding some dissolved oxygen levels, or adding some dissolved oxygen into the tank. Now, I've talked a little bit in the past about the two tanks over here. There's the Tanganyika tank and the Malawi tank. I've got the nighttime light set on that right now. Maybe I'll go over and fix that. But those tanks are also on a battery backup. So they are actually on a, it's like an APC, I think it is, battery that I purchased on Amazon. It's a larger system that's usually used to kind of keep your computer equipment running. And I've actually done the math on that, and that will run for many, many hours as well, and also power those air stones. So I do have the never clog air stones on these tanks, so that means that if there's a power outage, they will continue to get oxygen. Now, the good thing about that is that if I'm not home, if I'm away and the power goes out, those tanks are still going to get air. Now, there is other options, and I've talked about this before. This is a little Marina battery-powered air pump that powers an air stone, and there are batteries in this that's ready to go. So if I'm not home, if my daughter's home or my wife is home or something, they can just turn this on, put the air stone in this little nano reef tank that I have, so that there's some bubbles going on in there as well, so that those occupants of that tank also have some oxygen. Now, down here in the fish room, it got really warm as well. This room is insulated, as you can tell by all the silver walls. The people are always asking me why the walls are silver. They are insulated because I heat the room. I don't have heaters in any of these tanks. Now, it did get pretty warm in here during the heat wave. Unfortunately, I had forgotten to turn off the dehumidifier, which makes it warm in here. I did catch it, I turned it off, but the water was quite warm. It was like 84 degrees in some of these tanks. So anyway, in all of the tanks down here, there are 23 tanks down here in the fish room, ranging from 125-gallon Oscar tanks down to 10-gallon fry tanks. I've got mud skipper tanks, African cichlids, planted tanks, Tanganyikan tanks, all kinds of stuff down here. Every tank down here has air, so no matter what kind of filtration I have on there, if I have a canister filter or anything else on there, most of them are powered by sponge filters, but every tank does have air in the tank, so I am getting those bubbles like you would with an air stone, and so I do have that continual oxygen supply. So one thing that does happen when the water gets warmer is warm water doesn't hold as much oxygen as colder water. So the colder the water, the higher the levels of oxygen, and the hotter the water, the less oxygen is in that water. So when it does get warm and the water temperature rises from, let's say, an average of 78 degrees up to like 84 degrees, there will be less dissolved oxygen in the water, and the fish can suffer. If you do have an air stone, if you do have bubbles in the tank, they're going to do a whole lot better. Now, eventually I do need to get a battery backup for this room as well. I don't have one right now. I need to order one and connect it to the central air pump. I will not connect anything else to it, just the air pump, so that I can have some air in the event of some type of power outage. However, I do have a generator. I have a nice generator that I can easily get running. It's very easy to operate, and plug my air pump into that as well. I have one air pump that powers all the tanks in here. So again, 23 tanks, there's like 30 or so filters and air stones. You can see above me, all these PVC lines have air lines coming down. Those run air into the tank, and there's one central air pump. So anyway, so all the tanks that I have air, with the exception of that nano reef tank. There's no air in that tank, but I do have that battery as a backup if there is some kind of issue. And then I do have a pond outside, but it's a much larger water surface. It is outside. It might get a little wind or something like that, so nothing there. So that's it, just a kind of a short public announcement to just share with you guys how important it is to have some kind of air in your tank. An air stone, you've heard other YouTubers talk about it. It is very important. It does help. It does help when there's a power outage, if you have some kind of battery backup. There are all options that range from as low as like, $15 on up. And it does just also help when the temperatures rise and that water gets warm and your fish might be struggling to breathe. That is pretty difficult, so we don't want that to happen to our fish. So anyway, I will put a link down below on where you can get the Never Clog Air Stone, and also where you can get that Marina battery-powered air pump, and I'll probably put a link to that Cobalt air pump as well. But anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're not subscribed, and so many of you guys that watch these videos aren't subbed. Go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't hurt. It helps me. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.